But then I honed in on something that's more contemporary, and I think I'm just going to stick to that. I've been into the six-cylinder Corvettes for 50 years. I didn't find my first one until 1977, because back then nobody wanted to sell them. A lot of the people that had bought them many years earlier, usually either new or as a used car in 1959 or 1963 or whatever, in the 1970s they never wanted to sell them. There was a guy named George Halloran who was involved with a lot of the clubs. He had a blue in 1954. He got it from Robert Chevrolet in Hicksville, and the reason he got it was he worked for Grumman, and they had a contest for a new car, and the woman that won the car had already bought a new car, so she didn't need the Corvette, and so she sold it to George. George drove it to Grumman every day until 1964, when he left it in his garage, and he lived right up there around Swamp Road and Route 106, and where 106 and 107 meet. And I met him in 1976 when he sent, I was involved with Lyco at the time, and I got the mail. That was my job. Richie, do you remember that? Yeah. Yep. So I got the mail in the East Meadow Post Office, and there was a postcard in there. And it said, we have a 54 Corvette interested in selling. If interested, please advise. So I brought it to the meeting, and I wrote the number down and called them, and they invited me over. And I became very good friends with them over the years. And every time he wanted to sell it, the price always kept increasing a little more than the market. And so, even though it was a nice original car, they never really wanted to sell it. George died in 1996, and his wife said, look, I just got to sell it, can you offer me something realistic? And I had to pay her probably 10 times what the price was in 1976. But I bought it, and I kept it a few years, and then I wound up selling it to a guy that restored it. The car needed a lot of work, but I liked the car. For years, I've had many six-cylinder Corvettes, and I've had hundreds of cars. Most of them older cars, a lot of them collectible cars. I used to drive antique cars every day. And in the 60s and 70s, especially in the 70s, when you pulled up on a date with a 25-year-old car, you might think it's cool. Like my 1959 Corvette, I met this woman and at a dance, very, very nice gal. And now this is in 1974. She had a brand new Oldsmobile, and I pulled up in a 59 Corvette. It was blue, ratty paint, and 2 4-barrels and all that. Well, we go out to dinner, and I'm driving it, and the linkage rod comes out of the clevis. And, well, I only have 2 speeds, so we're going to go very slow. And politely she said, this is not the guy for me. The funny thing was, she was an attorney, and my dad was an attorney. And years later, they wound up in a courtroom where they represented the plaintiff and defendant. And she says, Blay, do you have a son named Alan? He says, oh yeah. She says, yeah, he likes old cars. He says, boy, does he like old cars. My father says to her, he says, a 10-year-old car could be too new, you know. It was just a funny story. So we'll bring it up to modern day. I have a very early 54 that's red. See, I like red 54s. I like red with red interior cars. My 62 that I bought in 1969 was red with red interior. I just think it's, especially with the chrome, it just really looks good. And the 54 6-cylinder cars, when they're red with red interior, it appeals to me. So I bought one a couple of years ago, very early car, very original, and I had it in the America on Wheels Museum in Allentown, Pennsylvania. They had a display of unrestored cars, and they invited my car was actually the newest car. They had a 1918 Nash, they had a 50 Chrysler with 4,000 miles on it. I mean, they had quite a display of about 25, 30 cars. Well, my towing guy who brought the car there couldn't make it. He was busy bringing cars, beginning of April, this is. He was busy bringing cars back from Florida. So I said, gee, I got to get the car out. So I drove my modern car to the museum, and we filled the tires, checked the oil, checked the trans fluid, put gas in there, and then I started the car and saw that the generator was charging, and water temperature got up to normal temperature, and the fuel gauge worked, and the oil pressure was up to 40 pounds, and I said, you know what? These tow services, they get $600 to bring the car back. I'm here. It's 135 miles. I have towing insurance, the Haggerty towing plan, and I use it a lot. So I said, I'm driving it back. I told the people at the museum, I'm driving this car back. They go, you're driving this original 40,000 mile car back? I said, well, it looks like it's pretty reliable, and the guy I got it from in Arizona went through the whole car. I mean, it was well serviced. They did the brakes, they did the carburetors, the transmission seal, the O-ring, all that was done. So I got on the road, and after a little bit, the thing really started to limber up. And I still remember going down Route 22, and then to I-78, you go around this thing, and the thing corners really flat. I mean, that ass really hugged the curb all the way. And I just kept going, started into Pennsylvania, through Pennsylvania into New Jersey, across New Jersey, all the way down 287, over the outer bridge. And I come to the toll booth, and it's the beginning, middle of April, and the guy, oh, nice red early Corvette, neat, good, thank you, give the receipt, keep going, made it all the way home, not a hitch. I stopped for gas twice, just to make sure, because you never know, the gas gauge can be broken. And the thing is, the second time I got gas, the woman comes out and says, could you please shut it off? And I said, I really don't want to do that because it may not start again. And she's nervous, fearing an explosion. I said, look, this is 1954. People didn't think like that. Gas was $0.25 a gallon. You had super leaded premium, and that's what the car really wants. But we filled it up with the premium unleaded, and it was fine. And the car 65 miles an hour, except when you hit traffic. But I really didn't hit that much traffic that time with that car. Okay, then I find out there's a red 54 at the Spring Carlisle auction. Friends of mine text me pictures. I liked the car. Didn't sell in the auction. I said, call them up. You know, it's like after it doesn't sell, it goes on their website. So I call them up and I said, I'm interested. I'm not going to offer them anywhere near the reserve. That's crazy, but I'll come up from the high bid. And I came in with a calculated guess. They called me back an hour later. They accepted. You just got to pay us the juice of 7%. Bring a check, take the car. So I figured again, let me call my tow guy, and he's not available, and it's $600-700. And I said, you know what? I got to pay for the car. Let me drive my modern car to Carlisle. And yesterday I went to drive to Carlisle in the morning. I'll be 5 o'clock in the morning. I get there, beat the traffic and all. And I show them the check. Thank you very much. Here's your bill of sale. Now, there was no notary to get a 30-day transit plate. I had an old 54 plate in the car. I had nothing else. And then I look at the license plates around. There's no mounting brackets for plate anyway. So I couldn't put the plate on the rear of the car. And the front of the car has a Carlisle auction plate. no stickers, no plate. I said, I started well, pull the choke out, boom, starts right up, throttle it, okay, when it comes up to temperature, gas gauge works, got over half a tank. Then I looked, the oil pressure is 45 pounds, perfect. Battery's charging beautifully, okay. Water temperature is coming up, fine. Every tack works, everything is fine. You know, so I said, you know what? I have towing insurance. This is 222 miles. What the heck? I said, worst thing could happen. I call the towing service and they bring me back, and I have the deluxe plan with 150 miles. So if it's a little more, so it costs me a few dollars. It's cheaper than $600-700.
So is that extra with your policy, or does that come with the policy?
No, I pay for it. You know, it's available. The Haggerty
I
towing
don't think they got on my policy.
The Haggerty towing package is excellent because they will tow your car even if it's in the garage and it hasn't started all winter. It's covered. And
What's the cost?
$150 for all your cars. And that's even cars, your own regular cars, even if you're...
Done, add it to my policy, sir.
Tomorrow I'll do that. Okay, so I said, I'm starting to feel more secure, you know? I mean, I couldn't get a truck. I couldn't, you know, here I am out there in Carlisle. It's like I paid for the car. You're on your own, goodbye. You know how people, the guys can't start his car and the people shut the door and say, goodbye. But at any rate, so I get into the car, I put gas in at the sheet station, drive down to I-81, and it was backfiring at the beginning because it hadn't been driven, because those things run rich. And again, man, that thing corners flat, and then it really starts to kick in, and I'm going 60, and in fact, I'm starting to go 60, 65, the hood pins are a little worn. The hood started. So I was getting a little nervous there, so I back off on the speed, and every so often, I push the pins down, and I stop in Hershey and fill up, and I say, okay, now I know where full is, and I check my oil, and then shut the car off. You don't know. You don't want to go, you know. And I just kept going and going, and when I had to go to take a tinkle, I just side of the road, and then all the truckers go like, beep, 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 beep. And then the thing that scares me is there's some people, they say, what is that, you know? And, or they like the car, and they honk their horn, bum, bum, bum. And I say, please, you're scaring the crap out of me, you know? Well, I hit traffic just before the Delaware River, Pennsylvania, New Jersey border.
Water gap, isn't it?
Yeah. So, you know, this thing wants to go, and you're going 6 miles an hour. It doesn't like that with all the trucks and all. Then it started to pick up, and we went through Jersey and then down to 87, and then you hit more traffic at the Outer Ridge. I go over the Outer Ridge crossing, same toll guy looks at me and says, weren't you through here a couple of weeks ago? I said, no, this is another one. Here's your $15. Receipt, please. Thank you. He says, see you around. See you with the next one.
That's funny.
And then I went through Staten Island into Brooklyn, loads of traffic. I mean, and the thing is, this car that I bought at Carlisle didn't have a rear view mirror on the outside. And I had to top up, so it was really hard. I had to go, you know, to see, you know, that's why I kept to the right, very defensive. You really can't challenge a lot of, some people just, they're wild on the road. And the car made it home.
Wow.
It didn't stall out. It was a little, didn't like that traffic, but it still kept the RPM 800, 900, so it was good. And 18 miles to the gallon on, I mean,
No plate on it?
no plate, no stickers, no inspection. All I had was a bill of sale and insurance. Well, yeah.
Well,
Insurance man arrested for no insurance. I had my
how do you not
insurance.
pass, the car's saying, looking at you, how do you not pass the highway patrol, and then look at the car and say, hey, there's no stickers on
What I'm
it?
going, look, I've been in the hobby 50 years. I've been in the insurance business with collector cars for 42, since 1975, almost 43. What I find with police officers, if you have a legitimate antique car I mean, a newer car is gonna have to be cleaned. I mean, you know, a car from the 20s, you know, they don't expect a beautiful car. But if you have a nice looking car, they're not looking into seeing who you are. They know it's some older, like they were talking, some older bald-headed guy with something from the past. And the more time that goes by, you look like you're from another planet, you know? And I say to myself, I said, you know, there are some people that would think a 60s, 50s, 40s, 20s car is cool. But most people today, as a woman I met years ago said to me, would say today, the best car is a 2018 car until the 2019 comes out. And I'm not disputing that, because I agree when you're traveling, it's nice to have Sirius XM, cruise control, heated seats, yada yada, etc., because it's a lot more comfortable. But it's a lot of fun driving an older car too. So now I have two red 1954 Corvettes.
Nice.
And it's fun to drive them, but it's not transportation. So you have to always, you know, when people say you're going to use the car to go out to the Hamptons, I say that's really pushing it. I said, you know, a modern car is better, but to go to a local show or a cruise night or a car activity, whatever you have, whether it's a 2018 or a 1928. It's fun, and so it was just a fun thing, and I was really fortunate that both cars made it home, and it was just a fun adventure. And I find that sometimes driving these cars, you can have a great fun adventure, and even if you take a little bit of a risk. What I found with the police is, as long as you have insurance, and they don't care about damage to your car, the word of liability, you run somebody over, you have insurance. The fact that the car's not registered or inspected, we know, yeah, it won't pass inspection, you're waiting for the parts, they're gonna be in any day now, which means 3 weeks later if you're lucky. They understand that, it's not like a modern car. So, and,
How you were thinking?
What do you mean, 300?
well, 54s, they made 3,640.
No, how many red ones?
Oh, red ones? Well,
And then red, they're
I'll
black,
tell you,
white, and
well, I'll tell you what I do have, and this is the next topic. I have most of the drawings for all the 6-cylinder cars. The interesting thing is that I also have drawings for the 1955 V8 parts. All the parts for the 1955 V8. I have the Chevrolet drawings, which were drawn for the tooling to make the parts to make the car. And a lot of these started in 1952. So that V8 was planned in 1952. All right. Now, one of the drawings is for the colors of the Corvette. White, red, onyx black, sportsman red, polo white, onyx black, okay, independent blue, those are known. And there was also a metallic green, a metallic bronze, which became the Corvette Copper, had a metallic green. All right. I have the drawings. It tells you each part of the car and how many gallons of paint are to be applied on top of the primer. 0.14 gallons of paint for this part. 1.6 gallons of paint for the entire car. All right. And they have the code. Corvette model 2934 Sportsman Red. So what I know about the red cars is the real red cars, which is one of the cars I have. This car here that I bought at Carlisle, I opened the trunk, pulled the mat out, and there's a spare tire board. And on the spare tire board is written 54 Corvette white. So somebody painted it red, that's all. But number 70, which I think was one of the 11 that were used in the Los Angeles Motorama debut. There were 4 black, 11 red, and 15, I think, white.
Now, Alan, just sorry to interrupt, don't you think one from the collection is from that Motorama as well, the 54 from the collection?
Yeah, no, that's number 656. That's a possibility, yes. Well, Harry Mann Chevrolet, and I wrote this also, Frank Milne was the guy. He was the sales manager at Harryman Chevrolet. He sold about 200 1954 Corvettes, maybe even more than that.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And he had a 57 fuel-injected car that came in as a trade-in in 1970, and he restored that car, and I have the whole write-up. Got a picture of him. I don't know if he's still alive anymore. I mean, if he's still alive, he's probably 90 or more. But Frank was very involved with promoting the Harryman dealership. I have a few receipts from Harryman also. One guy bought whatever part in 1956, and they'd have the thing, you know, the date, 1950, and you write the year or whatever. But this red one was a real red car because I have pictures of it from the third owner who bought it in 1957. And he autocrossed it as well. I got pictures of him with the helmet and everything. And, look, they do all right. I mean, it's not going to win races, but it's competitive.
That's cool.
And it has him in the picture, and the car is red. It's not white. And you could see on the top of the fender where the paint is flaking. And this is a 3-year-old paint job, so the nitrocellulose lacquer didn't adhere that well. So, but a lot of people like to paint them red because you don't want them all the same color. And that was the whole thing when the Corvette debuted in 1954. At the first Corvette to be shown other than a Motorama was at Herb Schreiner's sports car show in January 1954. They had 1954 number 10. It was owned by a guy named Ed Norton. Sure, Ed Norton.
Wow.
He didn't work in the sewers, though. He actually was the second owner. The first owner bought it from the Chevy dealer at serial number 10. Then this guy Ed Norton got it in 1970. He kept it. I guess I saw it in 1997. Ed Norton was 80 then, and I guess he died. And it was auctioned, and Bob McDormand bought it. And when Bob McDormand bought it, they auctioned off his whole collection. It was in there. It sold at a Mecum auction. Had I known about it, I would have bid on that.
No, wait, this is a 53 or 54?
54, serial number 10.
Okay.
But the thing is, I have the book by Greg Merksamer. He wrote a book on all the New York auto shows from 1900 to 2000. The first one was in 1900. From 1900 to 2000, and he wrote about Herb Schreiner's sports car shows, and it's in the book. And he says they had a Corvette, the first Corvette to be at a non-Motorama show. And it was, I'm very sure it was this car because it went to Staten Island, and then it went to Elizabeth, New Jersey. It was in, then Norton had a painting business, and it was in the warehouse. And I went there in 1997. That's my take on that. But anyway, so there's a lot of like nuances. So I like red 1954 Corvettes so much to drive, and I really, you know, I enjoy driving them, even though it's tough to find people who want to ride with you. I mean, it's an open car. The removable windows, it's like a 30s Roadster kind of thing. I mean, this thing is cool. So somebody got me this. They said, oh, well, they didn't get it. It's from Pro Team. It's their car. Sportsman Red 54. And then I did some art study class around 1990. And this is my picture. And I sketched a red 54, me driving it. There's a tree in the sun. Cruising. I'm not saying I'm going to be, you know, a real artist.
Yeah, we're going to Rembrandt.
But, you know, for something at night, you know, to do, they said express a dream or something, or this, you know, just one day. Well, yeah, I know, but I'm not booked. It's not going to be in the Met, you know, but it's just...
That's funny.
Give it time. Bury it in your backyard. It may wind up there.
In 20 years, that'll be worth something.
You know, I even have my initials here. And then I brought a few other things. I mean, these are some old catalogs. We had Roger Williams, not the guy that founded Rhode Island, not that one, Roger Williams. Roger Williams sold a lot of solid axle parts in the 70s and 80s. And then, of course, there's the Roners, John Roner and his wonderful daughter, Mary Jo, who, I think a lot of people know Mary Jo Roner. She goes to Carlisle, used to go to Carlisle, now she's on eBay called the Parts Queen, and this was her catalog given out. This was an article of the NCRS Restorer, all the articles. I wrote a lot of articles for the Restorer on insurance and other topics. From 1974 through 1992. That was about the tenure of Dave McClellan. And here's a good book, a little pamphlet on the history of the Tonawanda engine plant. It opened in 1937 to make the 216 Chevy six-cylinder. They didn't have full lubrication on a Chevrolet six-cylinder until the Corvette. Before that, it was splash, where you only had about 14 pounds of pressure. And I brought them back last year. I brought some of the stuff, but it's a oil pan has like a windage tray in it, where you have channels that hold the oil, and then the connecting rod has like a scoop, and it comes down, hits the oil, and splashes it up into the rings, and that was lubrication. That's why you couldn't really get high revs. One of them, you'd burn the motor out. So then they came out with full pressure lubrication in the Corvette and the Bel Air powered line in 1953, where you had 45 pounds. And but see, all that engineering went into the V8. A crankshaft is not one piece, it's many sections. I have drawings on all of the lobes. Camshaft, talk about a confusing drawing. I'm going to bring them in. The camshaft, how the lobe turns, every angle, they have to draw and put the calculation of what the lobe angle is that turns the valve for the connected. It's very very involved. And finally, here we have Alnock. Everybody knows Alnock. You want interiors? Well, here's the 1981 catalog.
1981.
1981. You got solid axles and mid-years because.
The prices in it?
Yeah. Seat covers, $50. Oh, wow. There's a 60, the cardboard for the 65 power vent, both sides, $10.
Oh, jeez.
Side.
Fast forward, fast backward.
If you want to look at this, here's the Classic Corvette Club. This was, there were two clubs. One was Ed Thiebaud in California, the other one was John Hutchins in Michigan. This is the one for John Hutchins in 1975. They used to put the VIN numbers in, then they stopped. But this lists a lot of the members. I think I'm in here.
Wow.
But I didn't have a car, well, I had a 62, but that didn't count. So
Very cool.
that's why I liked NCRS. They were more accommodating at the time. All right. Anybody have any comments or questions, or
No, but it was very interesting.
everybody wants to go home?
No.
Well, thank you for listening.